Welcome to the Purple State of Mind podcast. Today we are going to be talking about the murder of Alex Pretti. And today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter than usual because we just don't feel that it's the right time to be talking about anything other than what is going on in Minnesota right now. So, Sid, I'm going to swing it to you to get us started.
Yes, so 37-year-old Alexander Pretti, an American citizen, an ICU nurse, and an individual who's exercising his constitutional right to protest and his constitutional right to bear arms, was essentially mugged and shot after being disarmed by ICE agents. It was on video, and expert analysis shows that he never reached for his gun, and he was already, again, another agent had already pulled the gun off of him before he was shot. Overall, naturally, it's caused a lot of outrage in Minnesota and Minneapolis and nationwide about surrounding ICE. This is the second or third case of an ICE, somebody dying at the hands of ICE in easily preventable situations. And the first thing that I'm going to say is there's a lack of concern in a certain branch of society, because 10-15 years ago the worry would be that someone died at the hands of law enforcement who we don't know if they even committed a crime or not. That would have been the concern. However, right now we're more concerned about the precedent that this sets and how, once again, federal law enforcement has overstepped and it's led to the death of an American citizen.
Yeah, I've made it almost a point throughout my political commentary life to say that politics is something that affects everybody. So if you want to say that you're not political or you don't indulge in politics, then you're just being insensitive or you're not being considerate of the fact that politics affects your day-to-day life. But I don't believe at this point that this is politics anymore. This is humanity. And if you are not outraged by the fact that a man was murdered in the streets of Minneapolis, unarmed, by the way, his gun was taken and he was killed. If that does not outrage you, I don't know what would. Our government not only is sanctioning this, but is justifying this. They lie, and they're making sure that the American people know that they are not to be trusted. To all the people in Minnesota who have been protesting in negative degree weather, I commend you. And honestly, I am in awe of you. Because what I have seen from Minnesota and what I have seen from the country is that the people will no longer stand for this. And there's a good reason for that. The United States of America is a country in which law enforcement is there to protect you. It is there to make you feel safe. But when law enforcement is not doing that, it is your job to make sure that you feel safe. And the people of Minnesota are taking it into their own hands to make sure that they feel safe. I commend everybody in Minnesota right now.
Yeah, kind of stuck in a hard place here because again, like Ishaan said, this is no longer going to be a question of politics. It's not going to be a question of where you align. Let's just look into a little bit, look into this a little bit here. When we're talking about what happened to Alexander Pretti, it wasn't just like he was shot one time. They shot his motionless body repeatedly. There's a side angle that shows another ICE agent clapping and jumping up and down in celebration, as if he's celebrating this guy dying. And it's shameful. It is shameful. It is truly shameful. And however much you dislike the Minnesota government, the state government, the local government, the federal government is helping or contributing to weakening the federal system by refusing to cooperate with an independent local investigation, which is wrong. Once again, it is wrong. Tim Walz has, and I'm gonna say it now, he's done a great job standing up for his people in this case. Last week I voiced a slightly different opinion, but throughout the week I've started to observe more, and my mind has changed. I mean, the National Guard deployment is great, and there's so much outrage. I know there's outrage on, in the MAGA base about how the National Guardsmen have been handing out donuts and hot chocolate and things like that to protesters. I encourage them to do it because those people are exercising their constitutional right. And let's just, I mean, the criteria here for response, law enforcement is supposed to follow the law at an even higher standard than we do because they're the ones enforcing it. They're the ones in charge of protecting it. And another person was killed by negligent, probably hateful, and just outrageous law enforcement action, and the federal government has completely defended it. JD Vance saying absolute immunity once again. And the Kristi Noem just went on TV and blatantly lied. There's videos. There's video evidence. Expert analysis shows that Alexander Pretti didn't even reach for his weapon. He never drew it. He never brandished it and waved it in front of law enforcement like they claim. They go out on television and claim that he showed up ready to massacre and harm a bunch of law enforcement. That's completely untrue. This isn't like Renee Good, where there's a little bit of room for debate about the threat to the officer's life. There was no threat to these officers' life. Look at the video. He's trying to help another woman who was being mugged for recording. He was already pepper sprayed. He was disarmed, and he was shot multiple times. He was shot after the kill. He was shot after, maybe not the kill shot. He was shot after he's laying motionless on the ground. You should hear the doctor's testimony, the doctor who arrived on scene to help him. You should hear what she said about how instead of giving him CPR or checking for his pulse, like standard law enforcement practice, medical practice, they had him on his side, which again, completely malpractice right there. They had him on his side counting the bullet wounds. On the video, you can hear one of the officers screaming, "Where's the gun? Where's the gun? You took the gun?" As if they shot him. They don't even know where his weapon is. I doubt they even knew he had a gun until he was subdued. It was concealed carry, which is legal. And I don't know. I mean, Operation Metro Surge. You don't have the numbers. You've barely achieved anything close to your goal. Yeah, you're gonna go on TV and flaunt the couple of violent criminals you arrested. That came at the cost of 2 American citizens dying, and tear gassing a family car, and detaining a 5-year-old to bait out his mother. I don't really have much to say.
I'm going to be fully honest with the viewers here. We've recorded this episode a couple times, and each time we've tried to, we've ended up rambling on and on and on about how much this was just a blatant human rights abuse. And we've settled down here, and we've decided to make this video a bit more stable, I would say, because that's what the viewers deserve. They don't deserve to hear our pure frustration over this. But I want to make one thing very clear. We are absolutely outraged by the fact that the federal government is sanctioning the murder of American citizens right now. And to make matters even worse, people online, people across the conservative movement have justified this. JD Vance has justified this. Kristi Noem has justified this. Kash Patel has justified this. I remember yesterday, we're recording this on Sunday, so yesterday, listening to the Kristi Noem press conference after the killing. It was a couple hours later. And immediately, her first words were lies. Her first words were lies. And that's been the theme throughout this entire administration. A refusal to take accountability. A refusal to do what the American people put them in charge to do. It was just yesterday as well that James Tallarico was debating with Jasmine Crockett and said what I believe the American line should be about immigration, where we have a welcome mat at our front door and a lock on the door. That's beautifully put by James Tallarico. And it really sums up what our American systems about immigration should be. That is the American belief. What the administration is doing right now is contrary to what the American people put them in place to do, which is root out violent criminals who are here illegally and take them out of our country. When you're killing citizens, you're not doing that. When you're deporting 5-year-olds, or maybe not deporting, but detaining them in Texas from their front porch, you're not making the American people safer. All you're doing is hurting the American people. And that's why you have protests in Minnesota. Joe Biden and Barack Obama both deported people. Yet we didn't see protests in the streets. And the reason for that is because they weren't doing it by killing people.
There was no gloating. There was no gloating. I want to add on to you. There was no gloating. They weren't going out and lying about these criminals or the illegals that they're detaining. And it's a shock. I know a lot of people had a lot of skepticism about this, but I don't think anyone expected it to get this bad. Because in some cases there's just like it's kind of, I mean, you feel helpless. You feel helpless seeing this. I believe very strongly in a strong immigration system, but I don't believe in, violating someone's human rights because they entered the country illegally. Alexander Pretti, I mean, it's like defamation. It's badgering. It's insane. It's fear mongering. It's lying. It's badgering. It's outright political malpractice to go up there and lie and defame a someone who's already dead, an ICU nurse who, as far as I know, has no priors and legally obtained his weapon. And we want to talk about standards. We want to talk about stay home. Stay home. He should have stayed home. We want to talk about he shouldn't have brought a gun to a protest. Those two things were his constitutional right. He is allowed by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to do both of those things. And the standard is selective. It's now become selective. And you're gonna give. I mean, I don't. You're probably gonna say something to Democrats, but I'm gonna say, I mean, to the, like you said, on social media with the conservatives online and stuff like that. It's okay to disagree with the Republican Party. It's perfectly fine. But stand up for what you actually believe in. Don't just stand up for the party, because it's anti-American. Right now, what's happening with people defending ICE's actions, it's completely anti-American, because you're standing against first of all, I mean, on a minor scale, the right to bear arms. Additionally, you're standing against the right to protest, which is guaranteed by the First Amendment. And absolute immunity? You're kidding me? Absolute immunity? As a conservative, that's an immediate no. Absolute immunity. We believe in due process in the United States. That's a core tenet. Due process, where there's going to be law and order and due process. Those two things are very, very, very important to the foundations of this country. And the federal government refusing to cooperate for independent state and local investigations, which is nonsense. That's complete nonsense. And I mean, who knows? Who knows? Have some sympathy. Have some sympathy. Have some empathy, and be realistic. Be realistic, because 230,000 deportations in 1 year, and this is all coming, and you're seeing all these blatant violation of the rights guaranteed in this nation. I'll give it back to you before I continue on.
Yeah. In some ways, I'm at a loss for words, because at a point this becomes something that you can't just talk about. There has to be real action. And so, to all of the people who have been questioning where the line is, we're well beyond that line now. We're beyond the line of where your strongly worded letters matter, where Chuck Schumer's strongly worded letters matter. This is the time in which we need to take action. And when I say action, I do not mean a revolution, or I do not mean any sort of revolt that involves any sort of weaponry. When I say action, I mean peace. I mean beating violence with peace. It has been done before, and it can be done again. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're wondering what you can do, I implore you to find local protests. I implore you to look up different means as to which you can help the cause. Because what is happening right now is no longer a red versus a blue issue. This is an American issue. This is a problem because the American people are no longer safe in their own communities. Now, America is a country that was built on the ability of the people to protest the government if they do not like what they are seeing. People are now no longer able to do that because they're being killed in the streets for it. As Sid said, his lifeless body was shot. The government is no longer a representation of the people. The government is now a representation of Donald Trump and his will. At the end of the day, as you said, I know you wanted me to make a message to Democrats, and I will. Chuck Schumer recently announced that he won't be funding a government that continues the appropriations to ICE as they are currently passed by the House of Representatives. And to that I say, well done. Finally, after all these years, you have stopped with the strongly worded letters and you have moved to real action. The problem is, just a couple months ago, you did the same thing. You promised the American people that you were going to hold out, that you were going to keep the government shut down until the Republicans gave Americans the health care that they needed. After a few months, due to the political pressure, you caved. Right now, we have masked thugs running around our streets, killing our people. If you cave this time, you deserve to be primary, Chuck. And to the entire Democratic caucus, whoever decides to vote for this should also then be removed from office. ICE does not anymore deserve the appropriations that were once given to them. They have lost that right. The federal government has now lost the right to use ICE in the way that they see fit. It would have been a very different story, in my eyes, if after this killing, Kristi Noem and the entire government said, we're going to be launching a full investigation into what happened here today. We're going to be making sure that every single basis gets covered, and we're going to make sure that any type of inconsiderate or illegal activity by the ICE agent is going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We would be having a much different conversation right now. But the problem is she didn't do that. She justified it. She lied about it. So I'm going to ask you, Sid, what should be the consequence here? What should be the consequence of the government lying to the American people?
Well, I mean, obviously, as I said before, that civil discourse is American. Um, the problem that we have here is this is different in a case where the president of the United States has a supermajority in a sense, and additionally, this is different than his first term, where when he was asked if they can shoot the protesters in the foot or whatever he said. This is different because he probably has someone that'll actually allow it. And what I would like to say is that this is just show up to the first of all in November. Show up to the voting booth. That should be a basic. Now the second thing is you need to make your local, for example, your local congressman. You need to make them listen. You have to. And additionally, know your stuff, know your rights, know the principles and values of this nation. You know, it doesn't take too long to understand some of the basic things that this nation guarantees you. And it is really important that peaceful civil discourse continues because when you start to cross the line and when you start to get violent, that's when the real trouble starts, because you first of all, you make it harder for certain people to support you, because there's still good people in Congress. There has to be. I mean, I pray there are, but there's certain cases, or there's this is a certain case where it is important that in our civil discourse we are strategic and we are smart about what happens going forward. And you have a real opportunity in November to, I mean, you may not be able to fix what has already happened. You can't really fix what's already been done. You can't bring Renee Good and Alexander Pretti back to life. But what you can do is, at least in their memory, at least freeze this administration from continuing their agenda. And I'm saying this as a conservative because this administration isn't conservative. It's something different. This isn't traditional conservatism. I refuse to agree with that. But importantly, while you're saying you're kind of giving a call to action in a sense, I'm going to say that it's important to be smart, civil, and strategic, and show that we who disagree aren't going to be like the people we disagree with. We're not going to be
100%.
like those ICE agents. We're not going to we're not going to have a double standard.
Mm-hmm.
And 1984 by George Orwell is a crucial book to read right now, because it'll help you understand. It's Orwellian exactly what's going on right now. And it's not just, in my opinion, it's not just about who's going to go out on the streets and march. It's also about having educated people and having people that know their stuff, so that they can point the people in a good direction, and they can show that of course the main issue here is ICE's demeanor, ICE's actions. However, like Axel Henry, the chief of St. Paul Police, said, there already is common ground between the right and left, the reasonable right and left, where it comes to immigration enforcement. Like Ishaan said, a lock on the door, but a welcome out front. It's important that even though we have this civil discourse against ICE, that people are passionate about knowing their stuff, getting educated, and pointing us in a direction where we can actually move to that common ground without stepping on civil liberties, because it's very doable. It's possible. And that was our whole goal with starting something like this, is we're showing that you can find common ground. We're trying to show that overall, and this is just in discussion, but we're talking about in practice, finding common ground and working towards, because there's educated people on both sides. And like I said before, my call directly to other conservatives is, it's okay to not support the party it's okay to not support the party on specific issues. It's perfectly fine. It's okay to not support the party on anything. What Thomas Massey has been doing, for example, I mean, again, we've recorded this multiple times. I don't even know if it's in this recording. What Marjorie Taylor Greene did was saying, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Or Thomas Massey voting against the only House Republican to not vote for the DHS funding bill. Because it's really concerning. It's really concerning. There's so many. Where are the libertarians now, for example? Libertarians, this is your time to show out. You've always said overarching federal power, that's a worry. We need to abolish this. We need to abolish that. We need to fix this. Come out and show it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's all gather and let's all work together and be peaceful, be smart, and be strategic, and be American, and go forward and do it. That's all.
I want to just jump in here. I want to ask you, just to clarify, when I asked you what the consequence should be, is your answer then that Republicans should lose their majority in 2026, or I guess it is 2026?
Yes.
In the midterms?
Yes. And I'll say it. I know a good portion of conservatives agree that the Republicans should lose their majority because they're not representing the people. They're not
100%.
representing the people that voted for them.
Yeah, and I think,
I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna take it a step farther. I don't care what what the far right base says. This isn't American. This is not American. blood and soil, that isn't American. Whatever this is, stepping over civil liberties to enforce this about quote unquote Native Americanism, what they now call Native Americanism, that isn't American. It's dangerous. It is very dangerous because whether you like it or not, this, the immigrants that have assimilated here, they're American. That's how it works. Our institutions are made up of people of Indian descent, Asian descent, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Well,
This is this, and I'm just going to finish with this. This is for the people that are against ICE, the people that are against the way immigration enforcement is acting. This is something we have to remember, and we have to keep at our core that we all love each other because we're different. That's important, and that should be at the core. We should be moving forward with positivity. Positivity while peacefully protesting. That's it.
Yeah, I want to throw this out there, but Sid and I disagree politically in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to original republicanism or original conservatism and traditional liberalism, all that stuff. Our political disagreements, though, did not stop us from remaining friends after we became friends in kindergarten. When we were in kindergarten, politics didn't matter to us. We were friends because we wanted to be friends. And throughout the years, once we did understand each other's political philosophies, we didn't abandon each other. And there's a reason for that. It's because neither of us fell into the traps of the far right or the far left. There was a pipeline into both, and we both rejected that pipeline. And we continue to do that today. So when you bring up the far right here, I don't believe that that is a good representation of the majority of America. I believe that that is a small minority with a large mouth.
Absolutely.
I believe that most of America at this point understands that what happened to Alex Pretti is insane for our democracy. It is insane for the upholding of our Constitution. It is insane for human rights at the end of the day. And Minnesota right now is a representation of that. The people of Minnesota no longer want ICE in their city. Yet ICE is still in their city because the federal government has issued an ultimatum to the state government saying, give us your voter rolls, give us everything that we want, and we'll take ICE. The people of Minnesota have become a bargaining chip to Pam Bondi into the federal government. That's insane.
I just want to add, for so many people who voted for Donald Trump, one of his key talking points was immigration enforcement, how that's a priority, getting the illegals out. Mm-hmm. Let's just evaluate the fact that he's willing to end an immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota for the voter rolls, to get access to the voting booth, to see all the voter rolls and voter registration. They may be talking about voter fraud, etc. Like they want to clean out voter fraud. Why don't they do this in all 50 states? That was really a worry. This is more than anything. This isn't. There's clearly something else going on here, and like you said, Ishaan and I have known each other for going on 12 years, 13 years now. There were defining moments where, not only did we argue, but we also came together. We really wanted, for example, with gun violence, after the school shooting at Evergreen High School in September, we wanted to come together and host an event. And again, while it may not have materialized, that's important because we worked together and we tried. And we didn't fuss about it. We put human beings first. We didn't try to politicize it. We put human beings first. Gun violence, that's a human issue. Murder by law enforcement murdering U.S. civilians. That's also a major human issue. It's not just political anymore. And, anytime we have this conversation all the time where we talk about both sides cooperating and, how, our political beliefs didn't ruin our friendship or anything. I always think of when Joe Biden cried at John McCain's funeral.
100%.
Because it's a beautiful example of humanity, even with disagreement. And I pray that our generation can push us back towards that. Because what we have right now, increasing polarization, far right influencers gaining so much traction. You know, and the popularity. I mean, we have to take this serious. People have to take politics serious. It's not a joke. I know some of our politicians are a joke. However, the actual principle, this
Most of our
impacts so many people.
politicians are a
Most of our
joke.
politicians are jokes. But like, I mean, again, I don't really watch this guy because I don't really find any substance in him. James, what's his name? Fishback, the Florida
I
guy,
don't
the
know
Florida
what
guy,
his name is, but yeah,
the
a crazy
Florida dude.
dude.
He goes out there and says something about taxing OnlyFans girls or whatever, and he gets you have people online giving him so much support. Is this really where we're going? You have 2 U.S. citizens have been killed by law enforcement in Minnesota, and you're talking about that. You're talking about that.
I'm just gonna say this, and I know you agree with me here. The response from the federal government has me disgusted. A man's life was lost after he was taken of his gun in defense. He was defenseless. He was killed, and the government has justified this. The government has acted like he was a dog, like he was Christy Gnome's dog or something.
And the fact that they called him a domestic terrorist, where in the world is what he did? Where does that classify as domestic
He was a
terrorism?
nurse. Said he was a nurse.
Yeah, he worked in an
He was a
ICU.
VA.
They said he brandished a gun. Again, this doesn't look like this. I mean, whatever you consider it. This how can you mistake this for a gun? How can you say that he was pointing a gun at law enforcement? And it wasn't even like he was going like this. He's hitting this. He just has it in front of his face. It's incredible. And you just have to look at it just from if you use past context, the fact that Donald Trump can't even come out and say explicitly that he supports this agent, that's how you know something is truly wrong. That even he knows that, even he knows that this is deadly if I defend this.
Well,
Because
he's lost support amongst a
he's
lot of the
losing so much
moderates that
support.
supported him because
Absolutely.
what his administration has done is not supportable.
It's
There's no way
not.
you can justify it.
It's not. I mean, it's time that we put America over party loyalty. This is the United States of America, not the United States of the Republican Party or the United States of the Democrat Party. That's not how
America
it
First
is.
has historically been a dog whistle, but this is when I would consider America First to be a proper slogan.
And we mean America first as in America first, not
America First. America over red, America over blue. America is I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, I mean, I can finish your thought pretty much. I mean,
America over red, America over blue, America first. I mean, that's kind of what that's where we're at this point. The American people have to eventually realize that this is no longer just politics.
it isn't. And the fears that the Insurrection Act can be deployed now versus, the countless amount of times that we can name of and we're not talking concealed carry arm. We're talking automatic rifle arm, or whatever, AR-15, whatever they call it. We're talking rifle armed, brandished rifles openly on the body armed at the Montana state capitol, at the Oregon state capitol, at the American capitol. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with that, but it's like it's a howler. It's a howler.
I think that eventually there's going to be a reckoning, and eventually there's going to be a question asked of the American people as to where they draw their red line. And once people realize that that red line has already been crossed, we're going to see people in the streets to the levels of which we have never seen before. And when those people go out and inevitably protest what is going on in our federal government right now, the only message that I have to them is to remain peaceful. Because right now, the leverage that the American people have is the fact that they desire peace. They desire peace in their communities. They desire peace in the country. I know that I desire peace. So when you go out into the streets and you protest the government that is using violence to suppress you right now, remember that peace is your power. Peace is the power that you can control. But I digress.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to now move on to the second aspect of this, which is the impending government shutdown. And we, as of recording, are about 6 days away from a shutdown. Once this episode is released, we're going to be 4 days away. Sid, do you believe that the government should be shut down right now?
It's hard. I mean,
Loaded question.
yeah, I mean, see, the government being shut down, that means that salaries lost. Um, and a lot of federal processes will be stopped. See, I'm stuck in a hard place here, but I think that just it's easy for me to say, but just in the sense that for the sake of good faith, yes. Because even if I don't agree with the Democrats on like anything, I need some faith that one party has a spine still, has some sort of spine. Because, you know, waking up the other day and, or getting home from school and checking my phone to see that Republicans voted yes on a bill overwhelmingly, apart from one, voted overwhelmingly on a bill that increased spending for gender affirming care for minors and approved the automobile kill switch. They voted for that, which I'm pretty sure they've stood against for years now, for more DHS and ICE funding, for record-breaking DHS and ICE funding. What have they
Shows
done?
You where the priorities lie right now.
It does. I mean, immigration enforcement. There's still so many issues. That shouldn't be the entire thing, like at all. It shouldn't be, especially if you're willing to let it go for the voter rolls.
I will say this, and this is coming from a person who has considered themselves a Democrat throughout their entire life. I do not believe that the Democratic Party can afford to fail on this issue. Because the Democratic Party has, throughout Trump's second term, been very well known to be ineffective. And again, the shutdown just a couple of months ago didn't do anything. So if you're going to shut down the government now, you better have a plan. We currently have people running around the streets in masks, which, by the way, I want to touch upon that a little bit here.
That's nuts. The masks are a big
It's
no.
insane, the fact that they have masks on. And the fact that when Jonathan Ross, the person who killed Renee Good, I was watching an interview with Kristi Noem. CBS was interviewing her. And the CBS interviewer said the name Jonathan Ross, and Kristi Noem got mad that she was, quote unquote, doxing the agent. That's doxing the agent. Knowing their name is doxing the agent now. I know that if I roll down to the local police station and I ask for their name and badge number, they're going to give it to me and I'll be able to see their face.
When you sign up to join law enforcement, you know the risk that comes with it. It's different than intelligence, because intelligence, obviously your identity will probably be discreet. When you sign up, because let's just think about it real quick. The people that support ICE having masks, when they see a suspected criminal having a mask, what do they say? Immediately, that dog is wearing a mask and he's on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Half of these ICE agents aren't wearing anything that declares them ICE. Plain clothes officers. They're rolling up in their Wrangler jeans and flannels. Unmarked vehicles. Again, another double standard. Law enforcement wearing masks is unheard of. That is unheard of.
Well, that's no, it's heard of, but not in America.
Yeah, not in America. That's like some Savak, what's it called? The freaking Persian Empire, like secret police. Like you see that in Turkey and Russia. You don't see that in the United States. And it's sickening. It's sickening.
It's sickening. Anyway, going back to what I was saying about the government shutdown. You have a real opportunity here to make real headway. And the American people want you to. The American people want a shutdown if it means that ICE is no longer going to be terrorizing our streets. So if in a month for body cams you decide that you want to cave on this, good luck getting reelected. And in that case, I'm very concerned about 2026 because I question who exactly are we going to be voting for? Are we going to be
Yeah,
voting
because
for the people who continue to put these people out, or are we going to vote for the people who enable it?
we can't keep being in the lesser of two evils stage. Like
No.
it can't continue. We've been in it for like 8 years now, 9 years,
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah. 100%. We need to finally get somebody. We need to get not just somebody. This is not like an individual thing where it's like, okay, one candidate has to be good. No, we need an entire system of candidates who we are debating whether or not we like their policies a little bit more than the person beneath them. Prime example, Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama. When they were running, I knew my country was going to be safe. You knew your country was going to be safe. We all knew that our country was going to be safe no matter
I mean,
who
we
won that
probably didn't
election.
because we were like 10 years old, but like
Okay,
also,
fine. The country
you
knew.
get the idea. Yeah.
The country knew that we were going to be safe. At this point, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the charisma we got back then
It's not
compared
the
to
charisma,
now,
Sid. It's not the charisma because
not just the
JD Vance
charisma, it's
said,
also the statesmanship. The statesmanship. There's
no, it
the
was the
mutual
policy.
respect.
It was the
There,
policy, and
no,
it
no,
was the
there's
lack of extremism.
yeah, no, of course, but then there's also the respect for federal guidelines, for the law, for the
Yeah,
Constitution, for international
that's what
law.
it is. It's the respect for the law. And what's happening in Minnesota right now, I think the world sees it. I think the American people see it. Minnesota is doing amazing work right now.